Start by introducing yourself and your position.
My name is Michael Carnito. I'm the founder of Long Island Paranormal Investigators.
My name is Demetrius Haratos, and I am the second in command here at Long Island Paranormal Investigators.
My first instance with the paranormal field was probably when I was a kid, actually. I had to be around 7 or 8 years old, and my grandfather had just passed away. And a lot of my family members were having all different types of experiences. And I remember having this little handheld electronic game, pre-Game Boy and all that kind of stuff. And it had no batteries, and it was just lying on the bed, and my mom was cleaning my room, and all of a sudden that game just turned on by itself. My mom kind of looked at each other like, what's that? And everyone in my family had all these different experiences, and I kind of got really intrigued from that.
So when I was a kid, me and my brother used to share a room. We had bunk beds, and there was one night where we woke up and we saw what looked like a guy walked past our bedroom, and he was like in an old bomber jacket. He had like the little skin cap on with the earpieces, and he just walked right past our room and into our bathroom. And me and my brother got up and we ran around the corner to see if anybody was there, and there was nobody there at all. So that was one of our first experiences. I was probably 10 years old.
I would say from that experience, I wasn't scared. It was more startling than anything. Really, it was just kind of caught me off guard. In fact, that right after my grandfather passed away, that's when it happened. So it was kind of like two and two together. It was kind of like a sign. That's kind of how I took it. So,
I was a little kid, so I was a little, nervous and stuff. I remember I'm Greek Orthodox. We have this little icon with a red light, and I remember me and my brother walking past it. But when we stood there, we felt warm, like it was, it's just a little red light. It wasn't anything crazy. But we felt warm and safe there, but if we stepped out of it, we felt uneasy. So,
growing up as a kid, I grew up with reading comprehension problems. I would read something, and I have no clue what the hell I read. And then if I read something about ghosts or UFOs or Bigfoot, I would just get it. And going through high school, that's kind of how it was. And growing up on Long Island as a teenager, you hear all the myths and urban legends that are around the island. And I basically dared two of my friends to go into local psych center, Kings Park Psych Center, and they went in there and they had an experience. They caught it on video, and from there is kind of where it sparked my interest a lot. So, when we first started this group back in 2003, everything that occurred was kind of creepy and kind of freaked us out. Every location we went to was brand new, so we were going in kind of blind. Go in there, it's dark out, whether it be a cemetery, a park, and we have our equipment, and you'd start to get a feeling, and automatically it was like, oh, it's negative, we gotta run out of here, and we leave. And that happened for probably about the first year and a half, 2 years. And then finally, there was one night at this place called Mount Misery Road, Site 1 we called it, because we broke it up into different sites. And I remember being out in the woods. It's like the end of a dead-end road, and we had the wooded area. And we got a voice that came over the walkies that said, they're here. And we were asking EVP questions. And one of the questions we asked was, how many of you are here? And it was just kind of weird. Some people freaked out, and we were like, we're not leaving, we're staying. We sent some of those people back with the other group. We stayed, kept investigating, and nothing happened really. But that's kind of where it changed my perception of the paranormal field. Like, if something happens, don't run. Try to figure out what's going on here. Not saying that many years later I wouldn't call an investigation. If you go into a location and you really feel like, hey, this is bad, something really bad's gonna happen, I always say follow your instinct. You could always go back another day. It's not worth the dangers of the paranormal. So,
while we believe in the paranormal, we are skeptical when it comes to a lot of different claims. We want to say, what's the science behind this? How can we prove it? Can we recreate it? If we can recreate it, it's probably not paranormal. So we take all that into account. But one of the craziest things that we couldn't explain was me, Mike, and Brandon were at a location, Frank Melville Park. Frank Melville Park dates back to the American Revolutionary times. Actually, one of the first skirmishes in the American Revolution happened here on Long Island, out in Setauket. This is where this is located. And the area we were investigating, we actually saw a person, a white figure, walk down this pathway through the bushes and into the water and then just disappear. And all three of us witnessed it. It's one of my favorite things that I've ever had happen, because it was collective. Like the three of us witnessed it together. It wasn't like maybe you were seeing something. It was like we were all honed in on it, looking at it.
So all of our locations that we go to, we don't just go one time, we go many times. There's a place in Patchogue called Hanging Tree. We've been going there since 2003. We've done over 40 investigations there.
We have different case files for each location that we investigate, whether it be clients or it be urban myths and legend investigations, which is something you guys will participate in tonight. With urban myth and legend investigations, we have an entire system where we track when paranormal activity might be happening, what equipment is going off, and stuff like that. We try to base our investigations around those things. Or if it's quiet, a lot of times around a certain time of year when we go, we'll say, well, it's quiet, but we haven't really gone at this time. Let's see what happens now.
And so now that we've had 17 and a half years of data, we're able to look back at a location and see, all right, is there any pattern on when activity is occurring? Is it happening, say, in June between the second and third week of the month? Why is it happening? And that's kind of what we're doing now with all of our data. So we investigate everywhere. We'll do everything from myths and urban legends, which is outdoor investigations, to businesses and homes. This is a very dangerous field. Even just going into cemeteries and, little parks at night, it's a very dangerous field. We don't use Ouija boards, we don't use seances, but we have an audio recorder. And we have EMF devices, and we'll have that audio recorder, and we're asking, hey, my name is Mike, what's your name? I don't know who I'm talking to. And if it just so happens to be on a demonic level, you just invited yourself in. And now you have to live with that. And it's not easy to get rid of that kind of stuff. So, very dangerous field.
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Very cool.
You guys coming out with us tonight?
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm very excited.
Nice. Have you ever done anything like this before? Or?
No.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to a pretty easy location. It's I'm gonna go over it in a meeting, but it's a cemetery. Nothing crazy, so you gotta get a feel for like what we do. So this meter is on a lot of the TV shows, called the K2 meter. Basically, it detects electromagnetic fields. In theory, when a ghost manifests, it's going to give off some type of EMF. This will be able to pick it up. What they don't tell you is that it picks up radio frequencies, which is probably what it's picking up right now.
Yeah, there's a tower right behind you guys.
Over there. So I got to try to find a spot where there's like a dead zone. But that's how easy this thing is to fake. If you have some guy in the back with a walkie-talkie, and every time you ask a question, hey, are you here with us? Give me a blink twice for yes. You click that walkie twice, and it'll blink twice. That's how they fake the stuff on TV. Stuff does work, so I'm going to try to find a dead zone and put it down. Another piece of equipment that we use is it's called the DX2 Geiger counter. It detects gamma and beta radiation. In theory, when a ghost manifests, it's going to give off some type of radiation field, in this case being gamma and beta. So we monitor that kind of stuff. There's nothing out here that would give that type of radiation. So if the needle starts jumping up, very interesting to look into. Very rare and few and far between this thing has ever gone off. So I also have a digital recorder, which we're looking for EVPs, which is electronic voice phenomena. We'll ask questions in hopes to get responses. Something that we might not hear at the time, but during playback, that's when you'll get your evidence. And then I also have a digital camera, which I'm going to take out and start taking some photos. We just started kind of messing with, it's set to black and white photography. So, we have a bunch of different types of cameras. We just started black and white photography just to see if that makes any difference in all the other types of cameras that we're using. It is said that when you're taking and using black and white photography, shadows, like shadow figures, would pop out more in black and white photography. So we'll see what we get through that. I'm going to place this stuff if you want to.
Yeah, I'm using a meter called the MEL 8704. The reason why it's called that is because the guy who invented it, his daughter passed away, and it was on 8/7 of 2004. And so he created this device as a way to try and communicate with her. It's an EMF meter, so it detects the electromagnetic field, similar to the K2 that Mike was using. This just uses a digital readout as opposed to the light readout that one uses. we're looking for any kind of spikes in EMF within our range of paranormal activity, and it also detects our ambient air temperature around us. Ambient air temperature is the air that surrounds this probe. We say probably about a 1 foot radius, so that's what we're looking for. And we're looking for any hot or cold spots that can happen throughout the night. A hot spot and a cold spot is that we consider paranormal is an increase or decrease of temperature of 10 degrees or more from whatever our base is. So right now we're roughly around 57. If it drops to 47 or jumps up to 67, that's going to be a noticeable cold or hot spot that we'll pick up on. And the good thing about this, as opposed to a surface temperature thermometer, is depending on the density of a spirit, if you're using a surface temperature, it may just pass straight through and you're not going to see anything. With this, you can literally stick it in the hot or cold spot and get a reading. That's why we use ambient temperature thermometers. We also do use surface. Whenever you're dealing with a spirit that, like, there are claims that you see it walk through a wall or something like that, it's good to have something like that to point and actually get an accurate reading of the wall. So if a spirit does pass through there, you should see a change in temperature from that. And then I also have the full spectrum HDD camera. Full spectrum HDD is a modified GoPro that uses the full spectrum of light. So what we're doing is, because we don't know what spectrum of light a spirit can manifest in, we can only see in white light. But then there are so many other factors of light, like infrared or UV, stuff like that. So this goes through all different fields of light. And then what we do with that is we will look to try and see if we can capture some kind of spirit that's in a different light frame. It's kind of like whenever you hear like dogs and cats, they'll say they see something that we can't see. That's because dogs and cats see in different filters of light that we don't see in. So that's why sometimes they'll have a reaction. But that's why we use this. So hopefully we can catch something cool.
And then I've got our EMF cell sensor. So very similar to the MEL and the K2, picks up electromagnetic frequencies. This is nice because this one, if the EMF gets high enough, it makes a sound and also lights up like that. So it's like a clear indication this thing is going off. It's very nice for use in stationary equipment, so I like to just put it somewhere and leave it and just kind of keep an eye on it throughout the night. Then I've also got our IR digital camera. So like Dimitri was saying, we don't know what spectrum of light a spirit might manifest in. So this one's specific for IR. So unlike his full spectrum, if I catch something on this camera, we know this is being caught in the IR spectrum of light. So it gives us a little bit more narrowed down view of what's actually occurring around us. The thing with the camera that we like doing, and you'll notice us doing it a lot, is whenever we're taking pictures, we always make sure to kind of hold it steady and take 3 or 4 pictures at once. Because if you just take one picture, that could cause a lot of things. You might have accidentally moved it real quick. We've gotten pictures before where our investigators have had their finger in front of the camera and just happened to move it at the perfect time, and it looks like the finger is like coming out of the sand almost. So that's why we kind of try and take multiple pictures in the same general position so that we can make sure that we're not getting those false positives. So I'm gonna go put this somewhere.
You talk about my finger again, James?
I always talk about your finger. I love your finger.
The thing is when you're taking photographs at night, the aperture stays open to let in a certain amount of light in order to capture the image in darkness. So what happens is when you're in the field and you're taking photos like that, anybody walks by while the aperture is taking in the light, it'll just make that quick imprint. And that's an easy way that you'll see people try to like fake photography. They'll leave the aperture open too long, walk by, and now you look like you have somebody that's translucent. You know, we have a whole bunch of examples of that we set up for our presentations where we show what false evidence looks like versus real evidence.
Yeah, we were at a place called Burlington Prison in New Jersey, and I was inside the prison trying to get a shot of the front door, which was like really cool looking. So it's like a hallway, you have the front door, a hallway, and like another room. So I was standing in that room. As I was taking the picture, one of our investigators walked past And he looks like, when it came out, he looks like he's transparent, translucent. The best thing about that photo is people are like, well, how do you know it's not a ghost? I'm like, well, number one, I saw the guy, but on top of it, you could see he's wearing a black shirt, and you can almost see where it says LIPI on it. That's why we all wear the same shirts, because when taking photography, if you do capture something in a distance, we could pinpoint out if it's one of our people or not. So, yep. Process basically now we have our stuff spread out, stationary's out. The K2 meter that I showed you before is on the ground over there with the green light on it. It is a dead zone. So, now granted, now if that thing does jump up and max out to red, I'm not going to automatically assume, yes, this place is haunted, there's a ghost there. You know, I'm going to take into the factor that, yes, there's a radio tower. It's odd. Now, if that goes off, now we get hits on this meter, and then this meter, and we're getting EVPs. Now, I got an evidence built up. So that's kind of the guidelines that we usually use. So, I mean, I come in most of the time not thinking anything's going to happen. That's just...
And a lot of times the investigation itself will be quiet, and it's whenever you're reviewing the analysis that you start noticing that things happen. Like you heard us talking about during the meeting, we thought the Mount Misery investigation was fairly quiet on an investigative level for us. But when you come back and you play the evidence, we caught a bunch of stuff, so it was more active than we realized.
And even though with going into locations and stuff, especially new locations, you really got to go in there with not expecting anything to happen. There was an experiment done called the Philip experiment, and what they basically did was they took 5 people, and people that believe in the paranormal, and they made up this experiment was for a story that was completely made up, was faked, about King Philip, how he haunts this area, so on and so forth. So they bring these 5 people in that believe in the paranormal, and they start investigating. And the first couple times they didn't really even catch much, but they believed so much in the story and the place being haunted, where after a few more investigations, things started to happen. They started getting evidence. They basically generated the manifestation to happen themselves. So it wasn't really something that was paranormal. They generated it themselves because they believed in it so much. So I always tell the guys, the team, when you go to a location, just go in and do your thing. Don't think anything's going to happen, because if you constantly go to a location thinking, oh, there's something going to happen tonight, something's probably going to happen tonight. And it's probably not paranormal, it's just your mind messing with you. So you really got to be careful in how you portray the scientific aspect of the field into the investigation process. So now we have everything spread out. So now we'll do what's called an EVP session. We'll kind of spread out a little bit. We'll ask questions and we'll monitor all of our devices, see if anything goes wrong.
There are pathways down there, isn't it? It was pretty quiet, at least we felt. We won't know till we sit down, go through our evidence, and see if we captured anything.
Yeah, I took a bunch of photos. We had audio rolling. The equipment, handheld stuff, like this stuff, was pretty quiet for the night. K2 meter was jumping, but that's because the radio tower that's right there. We'll just go through our stuff and see what we got.
Yep.